morning about as soon as the show's actually ready to go as soon as the show's actually been updated and created.
Yeah, Mike's giving us lots of stuff, and we got to review some of it. He keeps sending us a lot of good information.
Yeah,
and I think we should just actually go through what Mike sends us every at least every couple of weeks or something like that.
we can do that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. This is our daily talk show with live news about that impacts the Niagara region, and it is Thursday, January the 8th. There we go. 9th tomorrow.
Thursday, January the 8th. Well,
Yep.
I just like to tell everybody that I gave a speech last night. I came in second place.
Out of 2?
That's right. You burst my bubble there, brother. I won the silver medal, but there was only 2 people.
Yeah, you see, I've done that as well. I should come back and come back to Toastmasters. I just don't seem to have any time at the moment.
Well, my speech was the truth about truth, and I just demonstrated something right there. I came in second place, and if I say it like that, everybody thinks, "Oh, that's pretty good, second place, wow." But you were wise enough to ask, and I knew that you would be.
I've been there where I did my
Yes.
speech, and I came in second place out of 2 people that spoke.
Yeah.
And the most annoying thing is that they were huddling around in the morning, asking everybody to come in. Can you do a speech today? We've only got 1 speaker.
Yes.
And I was the pre-planned speaker, and the person who does the off-the-cuff speak goes and beats me. Damn.
So my topic was the truth about truth, and or the trouble with truth. And there I just gave a good example of the trouble with the truth. I can tell you the truth, and if you don't know the particulars around the truth, you think, "Oh my God, Dave won a silver medal at the speaking contest," when there was only 2.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yep. Okay, so here we go. Welcome everybody. And one of the things we didn't talk about yesterday was pool of skilled tradespeople not keeping pace with Niagara construction projects. And there's a couple of things, key factors here. The new Niagara South Hospital and the new battery separator facility in Port Coburn. But essentially, demand is rising faster than the workforce available to do the work. And you and I have talked about this problem when we were first talking about the upcoming projects. We've been talking about this for the last 2 years, and the trouble is it's an Ontario-wide thing, because you got to train more tradespeople in order to get them, available to do the work.
Oh, of course, this was long overdue. And being a tradesman, being in the trades myself, being a member of Local 1007, which is now Millwright 1007, which is now part of, which is bonded with Hamilton 1916. So officially, I'm a member of 1916. But I was the president for 6 years. I was on the executive for 10 of my 25 years in the hall. And this has been an ongoing problem. The building trades were the only ones getting anyone ready as an apprentice. Everybody else shut it down. You couldn't get an apprenticeship at the auto plants. You couldn't get an apprenticeship at the power plants. You couldn't get an apprenticeship anywhere. And the steel mills tried, and as soon as they got a bunch of guys all skilled up, Ontario Hydro poached them. It was ridiculous. Ontario Hydro needed a lot more tradespersons, and they went to the steel mills.
So basically, you'd get trained, you get through, and you just get your badge to say, "Hey, congratulations, you've joined the crew officially," and now you're jumping ship to another company.
Well, yeah. So although I was happy for the guys getting better pay with Ontario Hydro and all that, it was still Stelco was the one that trained them. And then Stelco says, we're not going to do this anymore. We put a lot of money into training our guys, and now our guys are getting poached.
I know, and it's annoying. It's annoying for people like Stelco that they get their people poached after spending a lot of money training them. But in fact, it should be. It's like, Stelco should be applauded for taking on and training people, and at a time when probably nobody really is taking training seriously.
Well, that's been the issue. It's been what the building trades have spoke of over and over again. That's you heard over and over and over. Young men, young women trying to get into the trade somewhere, but nobody's going to train them because they're going to get poached. So what happens is the pool of talent keeps shrinking, smaller and smaller. The guys in the trades get older and older. My God, when I was like 60 years old, I was still the youngest guy in the crew a lot of times, So definitely in my 50s, I was quite often the youngest guy on the crew. You got a crew of 10 or 8 or 6 or 20 guys, and you find yourself, you're still one of the youngest when you're 50, 55 years old. It shouldn't be the way it is.
No. In fact, actually, at that age, in the IT industry, when I was in my 40s and 50s, I was not necessarily the oldest in the team, but actually the one with the most experience. And if I spoke up at meetings, for example, they'd listen to me. Whereas 10 years prior, 5, 6 years prior to that, they wouldn't listen to me. Now, they'd often adopt my ideas, but it would be because I say the idea and then somebody else would say the idea later in the meeting and then they'd adopt it.
Well, okay, that's a completely different situation.
I know.
It's kind of reverse of what's going on here. So the idea here is that this was predicted, a dearth of tradespeople. They try to, and what they do is the immigration people think they're going to bring them in. Oh, well, that's what they could do. That's what they could do in the 60s and 70s. They could bring tradesmen from Britain and Germany and other European, but the Europeans don't want to go anywhere now. They have a pretty good standard of living themselves now. Why do they want to come over here? Yeah, and that's and so what you get, you're going to get tradesmen from other parts of the world, so the developing parts of the world. And they're not going to be up to snuff because the training is not
the training
unless they come from a specific company. Then their training is not going to be good.
Yeah, but the general training in somewhere like Ghana is not up to the same standard as it is in Canada.
No, generally speaking, that's true. Now they could be.
I'm not talking about individual companies, because if you worked in Ghana, you may work for a big multinational construction company and have the best training there is in the world.
Well, yeah, you might be working for one of the gold mines, and then you learn how to do. You learn from the expats that are working there, how to run the conveyors, how to run the machines, how to fix the machines, et cetera, all that kind of thing. And so you may develop skills, but then what happens is they say, okay, well, they're going to need tradesmen, and I'm an electrician now in the mine, so I'll just pull the pin and go to Canada and be an electrician, putting wires in the hospital that's being built, et cetera.
Yeah.
But what we do then is we steal the talent from Ghana.
Yeah.
When Ghana needs it.
Then we steal the talent. We steal the talent from Ghana, but then we don't let them become electricians here. And that's the worst.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, all they have to do is write the test. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway,
if they can prove, if they can come up with a letter that proves that how many hours they spent in the trade, and whatever kind of training they've had, and then write the test, they're good. They're golden.
Again, we've got so many projected projects; they're just not starting.
Yeah, and that boils right down to the fact that we don't have any enough guys doing the jobs. Well, women too, but there's not so many women in the trades.
Well,
I'm pretty sure if you try to get some curtains made up, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a tough time finding a seamstress anywhere.
probably.
I think that'll be probably a tough call too, because I bet you there's not enough seamstresses out there. The trades that the ladies normally do. You get a skilled seamstress, that's like gold. You need curtains made up. You're going to do it? Am I going to go there and start needling away on some fabric? No, I need somebody who knows what they're doing.
Well, the point being is that without intervention, things like training, recruitment, immigration, retention, Niagara's we're getting further and further behind in terms of all these building projects that we need to do.
Yes, and we find this in the hospitals. But on the other hand, the IBEW there, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, local president or local business agent, says it's a good time for the trades guys. They're making a lot of money. They're making money hand over fist. I looked it up in my millwright hall. After years and years of sparse work, they're getting lots and lots of work now.
Yep,
it's a lot more among millwrights and ironworkers. It's a lot more. There isn't overlap into the other areas of. There's institutional. There's educational. There's institution, industrial, commercial, and institutional. The four areas, a millwright can only work pretty much in the industrial, but electrician can work in commercial, institutional, industrial, etc. They can do all four.
Yep. All right, yeah, but in fact, in reality, all of this, training, etc., as you say, there are companies out there that have spent a fortune on training. And, I always appreciate when people spend time and effort on training, but then they get their trainees stolen. And there are, a lot of companies that do recruitment. The immigration is problematic, but still essential to this. And retention is part and parcel of the problem, because I think you're also going to get. My dad was in the building trades, and when the building trades were in their height, the company he was at would say, "Okay, we've got another project coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll take you on," and everybody's gone. But Friday afternoon we're gone, bye, because Monday morning they're working on a brand new project with another company.
Yeah. When things are good, that's the way it is.
Yeah, and
but when things are lean.
Yeah. You're not waiting around.
You're putting the pizza sign on your car.
Yeah, you're not waiting around for 3 or 4 weeks in that sort of situation. In boom time, you're starting Monday.
Yeah, you might start later in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, there's always a possibility you could start Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my father told me that when he was a young man, young tradesman, things were so hot that he could quit one job, walk down the street, and get another job within half an hour.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, and I put this one up here more to show that that I believe we probably have a similar problem here. It's likely to be reflected around. So Toronto community housing evictions have reached a 10-year high. During 9 months of last year, they exceeded the 246 evictions that happened in 2015. They were 300 between January and October 2025. There were 391 evictions from Toronto community housing. Now, community housing for us, that's Niagara Regional Housing, and we've been facing, we do tenant work for many tenants that are in Niagara Regional Housing. I haven't seen any statistics, but the numbers of Niagara community housing tenants that are coming in for work for us to assist them with their problems is on the increase.
And what are the problems like? Are they like these ones where they're being asked to be evicted from public housing?
Yeah, essentially that. Yes, it's a
And
common problem that's known here as we've kind of termed it as a revolving door.
well, let's put it this way. In this particular article, they had two people there that they interviewed.
Yeah.
One guy's being a lifer in public housing. He's got mental issues and all kinds of other stuff. So his parents were there, and then he continued to stay there, and he went off to India to get married. So it doesn't look like the guy has a job or anything like that. He's in subsidized housing.
Yeah.
And what he did was he left for a while and let somebody else move into his place.
That's a no-no. Yeah.
Yeah. So he let somebody into their house, and by the article, it looks like it took them 2 years to get the squatters out of his place.
Yeah.
And now he is accountable for that. He is accountable for
that. Unfortunately, is a no-no
for the damage they did and the rent they didn't pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And because he did that, and then he wants to move back and everything's all right now, I shouldn't have to.
He's going to be on a blacklist.
Pay the price for this.
Yeah, he's going to be on a blacklist, unfortunately, because that's a no-no. You don't let anybody else into your rental unit, not when you're on community housing.
Yeah. So, and he couldn't get rid of these people.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of arrangements he had with them, whether he was getting a kickback from them or whatever. But I mean, and then he says, "Oh, well, now they're going to kick me out. Where I'm going to go and all this." Well, you've already proved yourself to be pretty irresponsible.
Yep.
And and I know, because we're part of nonprofit housing, and there's a certain element out there that makes everyone else look bad, and cost whoever's running the outfit extreme amounts of money to get rid of you. You get a unit that gets full of cockroaches because you're not allowed to go in there and
deal with
there and clean up cockroaches or anything like that. I mentioned people tearing down walls inside their units and tearing out wire and all this. It's dope sellers. People let in drug sellers, and they get into hallways and they go up and down selling drugs and things of that kind. So, and the second one in the article was a lady, and she had her mother had a guest that did a lot of damage, and same thing, couldn't get rid of them. And so I know the authorities just said, "Look, you got to go because we can't trust you."
And actually, what Niagara community, what Toronto community housing have been saying is the increase in evictions stems from the backlog of cases during the pandemic, because during the pandemic they weren't evicting people, and some of these cases, they take a long time to come to the tribunal, unfortunately. So the 391 that was 2025's evictions come probably from, they were backlog of cases that were from 2023, or typically about 2 years prior.
Yeah, so definitely look,
because 2021, the numbers of evictions was at an all-time low at 45.
Yeah, because the Ford government was very clear: nobody gets evicted during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, those 45 would have been the worst of the worst, right? Who flouted the system.
Yes. So even with the fact that the eviction rates has gone up, it's still very low. It's still very, very low. So it sounds like it's at a 10-year high. Toronto community housing evictions 10-year high. What's that sound like? That's misleading. Sounds like there's a huge amount of people getting tossed out.
It's
When
300
in the very worst of times, it's a very small number. If you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Right now, what is it? It's still under 1%, right?
It's 391 were evicted between January and October this year, right?
What is the percentage of people who are housed?
Fairly low. Fairly low, yeah, a fairly low percentage anyway. And on average,
I think you said it was around still only around 1%.
Yeah, and on average, you're talking about approximately 200 a year being evicted from Toronto community housing. So
in the article there, that one of the persons said that they now have to go to the relatives to get places to live. But I don't know what people do when they get evicted from a place like that, but they clearly have abused it. And I mean, if you can fly to India to get married and all this, and then come back, and I mean, where are your resources? I mean, that's cost a lot of money to do that. And you're on Ontario housing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I get the putting aside the flying to India, the questions about how we can afford that. So if you flew to India and you came back and you didn't let your house out to other people, you'd be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know how much sympathy we should have for the people being tossed out.
No, I 100% understand where you're coming from in that scenario.
Now, if some people are being tossed out and the story isn't being told well enough, well, sure. But we always have this default for people who are not responsible in our society. We always give them a break over and over again. And then finally we get fed up and say, you got to go. You haven't been behaving well enough. You're abusing the system. And then what do? The first thing they do is come running to the press, and then they get sympathetic ears from the press. Well, at least a good story.
It's a good story. Is where it is, yeah.
No, these
are not necessarily relating to this situation.
What's it? What about something about shield limit?
Yeah, climate. This is our climate research friend who's just giving various information. Yeah. Who's off in the Yukon right now?
Oh, well.
Yeah. Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. The next question that we've got is there's a call out there by some people to actually save the historic scow. Personally, I'm kind of going, well, just let it go. It was been a part of our history for 100 years. It is what it is. We knew it was going to go over the edge at some point. I would just let it go.
That's I don't know. I've thought of that myself. Can it be saved? Can somebody go out there and kind of put it on a pedestal or something?
Yeah.
And just kind of save what's left of it. I don't think it's savable. I don't think it's salvageable at all.
If you wanted to do that, it was like the time to doing that was about 10, 15 years ago when it was savable. Maybe you could have pulled it out the water, stuck it on the island, and left it as a kind of memento.
Yeah, you maybe have been able to lift it up and put it on more secure area there.
Yeah, it was a little island. There's a little island that was maybe 50 meters from where the scow was located.
Yeah, but now it's all in different pieces. It's moved because of that big windstorm a couple of years ago where we thought it was going to go over the falls. It is an incredible story, basically, and it will be sad to see it go. Particularly when they're fixing up that power station there to make it a 5-star hotel. that would always be good for people to look at that and hear that story about
Yeah.
that rescue.
I don't deny that it's a piece of our history, but I think at the moment, if you were going to have saved it, you needed to have saved it about 15 years ago at the very latest.
I don't know how much is salvageable of it,
Yeah,
although
I
this
don't.
fellow from
Yeah,
Ohio who wrote the book about who's wrote, he's wrote a book, or at least he's collected a lot of information on the scow and this particular part of history where these people went out. A number of people did heroic things to save two guys that were stuck in the scow, who had the presence of mind of opening up the hatches and sinking the scow where it is, so that they didn't get pushed over the falls.
yeah,
And of course, we know about the fabulous rescue and Red Hill doing his thing,
yeah, yeah,
recently coming back from World War One, having suffered a gas attack. I think he had been in a gas attack, and there's pictures of him, going down the road.
Well, when we know what happened with
Trying to
this,
out of there with a cannon, shooting the line out to there. That is just an amazing story.
yeah. Well, we know what happened in relation to the more recent history of the scow, that back in 2019, it shifted for the first time, moving downstream during the course of a storm. Then in 2022, it was pounded by ice. We had a particularly bad winter at that point, and it was pounded by ice, and which broke it up into several pieces. I think 2019 was about the air. If you're going to move it, you needed to have moved it in 2019 at the end. At the end of the day.
I don't know what they can do. Could they get like a construction helicopter up there, a double blader going out there and then latching on to what's left, lifting it up and putting it in a better place, or bringing it to shore? If you bring it to shore, it's just a bunch of twisted metal.
Yeah,
and people, it would just be
I
ugly,
don't know.
and
You
people
could.
wouldn't be able to put the story to it.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's a good idea, and of course, I've thought of that a number of times myself. Anytime I looked at the old girl out there, in danger, figuring out it's going over any day now, and yet it still survives. But it's so many pieces now. Is it actually even salvageable? Can it be done safely? Do you
I
really
don't
want
think it is salvageable right now.
do you
I
want to
could.
risk
I think you
you
could.
want to risk lives and treasure moving that thing?
Yeah, I think you could put a construction helicopter out and pull out some of the chunks of it, but I don't think it would be recognizable from the chunks.
No, you might, but the only thing you could do is build a bulwark around it. So, you may be able to take blocks of concrete or stuff and make a wall around it to protect it from the elements. But still, even still, it would take a lot of work, planning.
Yeah,
It's a good idea. I like the idea. And once it's gone, I'm afraid it's gone. So the scrap is going to end up in the bottom of the Horseshoe Falls
yeah,
eventually, unfortunately.
yeah.
And
And it'll be pounded down there.
sad as that is, to Save the Scow project probably will not get anywhere,
Yeah,
because who's going to put up the money?
yeah.
Who's gonna risk the life?
Well, I can't see this author putting up the money. Can you?
No, but he is asking for, he's asking for something to be done. I don't know. Let's put it this way: they've had other ships and stuff sitting under the water for years at a time. Like before the Scow, there was a ship that sank a little bit farther up, and its masts were visible for 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years before it finally fell apart and
Mike
went over.
Mike is saying you can't save the Scow now; it's too depleted, and I agree with him.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a noble idea, and as noble as the men who were there who did the rescue. However, I don't think it.
Yeah, if you were going to save it, the time has passed to save it. In my view, yeah.
Now the guy is from Pennsylvania. His name is Brian Gray, and he wrote a 55-page book about the Iron Scow called Niagara Falls and the Mysterious Barge. Now I was down there a couple of times when I've just I like to go walk around sometimes. So I go down there, and I used to have a parking pass, and I used to just walk around because it's just a cool area to go for a walk.
Yeah, no,
and a couple of times in the last couple of years, I've been down there, and people have been looking at that, and I says, "Do you know what you're looking at?" And they said, "No." I said, "Well, that's an old coal scow." And then I go into talk about the rescue that happened off of the top of the building there, the old hydro building. And one lady was looking at me as if I was making up the story because she had a couple of kids there. So I think she was thinking I'm making this up to impress the kids. But I wasn't. I was just trying to tell her what it was.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of looking at me with, are you making this up so the kids can have a nice story here? Kind of look. But other people look at it and they had no idea. And yet there's plaques and stuff. So they got to look at that and wonder what that hunk of tin is out there for. And there's been times when people said, well, it's an eyesore. You got to get rid of it. Until you understand the history of it, then it's no longer an eyesore, is it?
Yeah.
It's almost like a monument to a rescue. This was just a cool story.
Well, and actually, and when you're talking about it being a coal scow, you kind of go, well, right now that actually then would make it a bit of a climate nightmare, wouldn't it? Not they thought about those things 100 plus years ago, right?
Yeah. So we have, we got just a little bit of comment there, telling us what led up to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of us in Niagara Falls, at least, are familiar with what happened, but the tourists don't know, and it'd be really cool for them to know.
Well, I've only known because I live here. When I first came, I saw it and was like, okay, what's that? Clearly a boat that came too close to the edge. Then I found out the story, right?
Yeah, it's a fabulous story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's you when you live here, you find that story out. It's kind of almost it's almost necessary that you do find the story out.
Sure. When people look at it and they look at, oh, what an eyesore, a piece of old iron stuck there, it obscures the beauty of the falls. And until you hear the story, and then all of a sudden you have a different perspective altogether.
Yeah.
When you can imagine the rescue that happened and the tensions and the cooperation between the United States and Canada, like the rescue teams from the U.S. came over here. They brought the gun to shoot the line out there, and they had to get up on top of the power plant to do that. It's just a fabulous story. Just excellent. Of course, Red Hills dynamic part in it. Fresh from World War I, coming home, after being wounded in a gas attack in France, and then coming and doing something like that. It's just fabulous. It's just a fabulous story.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't make that stuff up.
No.
But
as thrilling as that all is, unless they're going to make a new scow and drop it in there, make one out of stainless steel and anchor it out there, I think the old girl's just going to break up and go over the falls.
Question: how's my local chippy? I don't have one. I make my own chips. Thank you very much.
Are you talking about which chip are you talking about? We have to find that out.
Yeah.
Well, Jake's chip wagon downtown was a standard. Everybody went to Jake's chip wagon. He had their old chip wagon, but Jake is no longer with us, and the chip wagon no longer finds its place there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't really have one of those chippies that I like. You mean the one that was on yeah, downtown on Queen Street. Used to be on Queen and
Yeah, just off Queen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
was
think
fine.
he set up on St. Clair. I think set
St.
up on
Clair.
St.
That's it.
Clair.
That's the word. That's the street I was looking for. Cross Street, St. Clair and Queen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, fish and chips. Yeah, I make my own. Because
Well,
I don't
we
like
don't know
any
which
of the
one
stores.
which one he's asking about, so we can't answer that question because we don't know which
Yeah.
one he wants.
I don't use any local fish and chip stores, to be quite honest. I make my own. Right.
Well, he doesn't make his own. That's why he's asking the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
He's not going to knock on your door. He's not going to knock on your door.
Coming from a fish and chip country, I didn't find any of the local ones here. And he's asking, do you remember the Warwick Hotel? Well, you might. I don't.
Not offhand, no.
By the way, the one place that I do find is actually okay is actually, it's called the Halibut House, and it's out in Niagara Square.
The Halibut House? Well,
yeah.
Halibut's good. Halibut's good even if you eat it
raw. Okay, moving on. The 2026 budget process is coming to an end. So they've been looking at they're looking at a hike of about 225 for the average household on the region budget, and they put this together in terms of several distinct areas: the police, health services, housing and homeless supports, emergency services, children services, and public health, and of course, none the least, the infrastructure, roads, water, wastewater, climate resilience, etc., etc.
What this means is we're going to get on your typical average house in Niagara Falls, you're going to be hit with a $225 property tax increase.
Yeah. And that's what they're looking at. And I don't know, 225 sounds a bit high to me. It sounds above the 3% that was being called for.
Well, it says already here that they had the objective of 3.5%. They couldn't even come close to that. And so the first budget that came in was 10%. So we're looking at 10%. So we called it here, basically. We called it here that they're going to come up. Bob Gale in particular said, look, let's try to get it down to 3.5% increase. Of course, there's a lot of hullabaloo, and everybody said, okay, we'll try. But, everybody knew that this was going to be an impossible task. So they come up with their budget is 10%. And everybody sharpens their pencils and gets to work. But it's the same thing every year. Whatever is the proposed budget is always whittled down some, so it looks good. So in other words, they're looking for a 7% increase, which they pretty well got. So what they do, they ask for a 10%. So the region can look like they're doing their job and whittle it down to 7%, which was what they wanted in the first place.
Yeah. And the other thing here is that police requested, Niagara Regional Police requested 11.5% increase. They got 8.5%.
But I'm not so sure that, like, the police budget. Are you sure about that? I thought they got all of what they wanted.
No, it says okay. Sorry, I'm misreading.
They got all 11.5%.
I'm misreading what I said. 8.5% of that increase was due to wage compensation obligations and collective bargaining agreements. So they were already, it was 8.5% that I misread. Yeah. So the 8.5%, they were already committed to a minimum of 8.5% anyway.
Well, it was unavoidable 8.5% because these are contract obligations, which and it's very clear that they say here that 2/3 of the budget is the police budget is the for police, 2/3.
Yeah.
In Niagara Falls, 1/4 of our budgets for the fire department.
Yeah.
So we find these services extremely expensive. And is there an alternative to any one of them? And Redikoff says in the article, he says, what are we going to do? When we go to the police and we say, okay, cut down your budget by X amount, and they come back and they say, no, we need all this. And then what do? Go for arbitration, a costly arbitration thing. We don't have any expertise. We tell them, can't you knock it down a bit? And the police said, no, we can't knock it down anymore. And yet they don't have expert advice to any other expert other than the police themselves to tell them what they need.
Yeah.
So the region would have to go out and try to find experts that will counter, that are well aware of law enforcement and be able to counter the arguments that the police are making.
Yeah, and it's like you made the point. You made the point several months ago about all those police cruisers. They're the high-end vehicles. They are V8 vehicles. Sometimes, often, the more expensive SUVs. The gas prices go up because of that. And you made the point. Why can't we have, for the average police cruiser, be a much more low-end vehicle, because you don't need them to be. Don't need every police vehicle to be high end.
No, you don't. You're given tickets. You're given tickets, so you get this huge, massive SUV. And believe me, I've seen a lot of different police departments have very, very conservative, ordinary, everyday cars that do that job.
Yeah.
There was a guy on I think it was the OPP on the 401. He had just an ordinary sedan.
Yep.
Yeah, he was an unmarked guy in an ordinary everyday sedan, and I would see him take off and give people tickets. And he's driving, the equivalent of your car or my car kind of thing, and not one of these huge SUVs all decked out. Do we really need those? Do you, when they're parked all night in a certain spot? You need a average car of that size. I know they're going to need something at least that will hold on to all their electronics that are required, but
you need those cars. You do need some of those cars, because you need to be able to have those cars in a chase situation. But for the vast majority of beat cops who are just going to attend a call to a domestic situation, you don't need a high-end vehicle for that.
No, and there are expenses like, I think it was last year, $600,000 for vests, wasn't it? $600,000 for.
But again, I would argue that vests are important.
What about one of the things that the tight budget is stopping is police cams. And if you're familiar with any kind of a law enforcement, those police cams that the police wear are very telling. That makes the cops do their job the way they're supposed to do it if they have a police cam on. Isn't it safer for the average citizen, or if we pay the money for the police cams?
Yep. Oh yeah. You see, talking about two very important areas there: protective vests for our police officers. We don't want to see our police officers shot, etc. And protective gear is important. And the police cams are for the protection of the public, because we don't want to see our police doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't see how this can be avoided. And they haven't got the wherewithal to pick apart the police budget. That's what it says.
Yep.
That's what Redikoff is complaining about, that they don't have the experts they can go in and pick apart the police
And-
budget. And
Yeah,
any accommodation they have to do that is a costly thing, and it's an antagonistic thing. It's an us against you sort of a thing.
yeah. And you might well be right about the use of police cars and different types of equipment that they could use, but you also are not an expert.
Certainly not, no. But
Right.
I do know what
And
other
I know
police
you don't
departments
claim
have
to be.
used, and believe me, I've seen police cars all over the province, and I still don't think we need those huge, massive SUVs.
Agreed.
There are big gas guzzlers for one thing. I don't think you need them on a traffic stop. Anybody with a radar set up, you need one of them. You might need one or two of those vehicles around where you're dangerous spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you,
Gary says we bought 540 body cams. Where the hell are they?
Well, that's they get cut out of the budget every year.
Yeah.
They get cut out of the budget every year because they say, "Oh well, we can't afford it." The cops are delighted. You know, good. We won't have to get them this year, and I think they're essential.
I think they're essential for public safety, and I'm not saying that hey, be very clear. I'm not saying that police do bad things. Majority of police officers.
I think you are saying that. That's what I think.
No, I'm not.
Oh yeah, you're in denial. You're in denial. That's
I believe the vast majority of police officers do a wonderful job, and they do protect the public. But every once in a while, we get a rogue cop.
That was a real good cover your ass comment there. Oh, I believe you. Well, because you don't want the cops chasing you and giving you a ticket, do you? Right.
I don't think anybody wants the cops chasing you, giving you a ticket. Right?
Well, see, if you slag the cops, that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to come after you.
Yeah, no, and I'm not slagging off the cops. I think they do a very good job. But I think we need body cams for the protection of the public.
Yes, and I think they can get away with a skateboard instead of the kind of cars they have. So,
and I do agree to some extent. Yeah. What about the beat cop walking around?
That doesn't happen anymore. And sadly, it could make a big difference. I remember in Niagara Falls, New York, the cops coming into the press box, the beat cop. The weather was terrible. It was like wind and cold, and he'd walk in and his glasses fogged up right away. The guy behind the bar looks over at him, right? Brings him a couple of shots of whiskey. The cop does a couple of shots of whiskey, then has a nice warm cup of coffee and chats with the bartender, a couple words, sits down right beside me, right? Just kind of warms up a bit and then back out on the beat.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do miss that. Okay, moving on. Welland Bridges will be closing for a couple of months. So basically, we're into maintenance season for the Welland Bridges, and there's one bridge in Welland and one in St. Catharines. St. Catharines Clarence Street Bridge and one other bridge, Clarence Street. Clarence Street in Port Coburn. And
I put that there just as a notice. Like, people quickly find out that these bridges are being maintained.
Be aware once the waterway closes down on the 10th, they'll be closing these bridges along with it. Okay, 3 St. Catharines bridges: Lakeshore Bridge, Bridge 1, Carlton Street Bridge, Bridge 5, and Glendale Avenue Bridge, Bridge 6.
Yeah, I put them there. For 7 different seasons, I worked on I worked on the Seaway. I might have done some work on some of the bridges, but mostly it was in other parts of the Seaway. But while the bridges are being worked on, the Seaway is being worked on too. I did work on a big job on the Bascule Bridge, which is the train bridge. I was foreman on a job there for 4 months maybe. I don't know what it was, but there was that was a big job, and it went south pretty bad. They really super underestimated the job, and it was
And the other bridge, which I already said, was Clarence Street Bridge in Port Coburn, that's closing, right? And also work on locks number 1 and 8. So 1 in St. Catharines and 8 in Port Coburn.
Yes. So most of us already know that, we find out the hard way. Usually we drive up to the bridge and it's closed. So we take detours or whatever. But after a little while, the locals.
Yeah, it's annoying on the first day it happens. You then figure out, okay, if I'm going across this bridge, I have to now go through that way.
Yes, and we give everybody here a heads up, but everybody's going to forget anyway and do that.
Yeah, I will. That's for sure. I will. Absolutely. Absolutely, I will. Okay.
Here I am stuck in a traffic jam, and I reported it on this morning about this bridge. I forgot already.
Okay. So what's your favorite place to be if you're not in your if you're not at home or at work? They call it the favorite third place to be.
What if it's X-rated?
That's fine.
Can we put brothel there? You know what? I read this article. And I saw no brothels there at all, no escort services, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think this is a true indication of what the average person does in Niagara Falls. There's got to be a few guys going off to the escort services.
Yeah, but again, come on. Even if that were your favorite place to be of a weekend, you're not going to tell the roving reporter that, are you?
Yes, that's the problem with the news media these days. It's not that accurate, They don't dig in enough. But aside from that, what do people normally do? Of course,
cafes and
bars. First, it says work is the second. So, what is the third place that people are after being home and after being at work? What is the place they like to go?
And on this list is cafes and bars, nature and outdoor spaces. Plenty of people, certainly in this city, go down the Parkway. Libraries is probably one of your favorites.
No, I haven't been in a library in a long time.
You haven't?
No, I used to go to the library quite often, but I get a lot of my information right offline now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gyms, curling centers, and recreational sports. That's another possibility. Community and supportive spaces.
Yes. So I don't know.
I don't think we have enough community halls, to be quite honest. I've seen them close over time, and I haven't seen new ones open.
Well, the McBain Center. If you look at the McBain Center, there's people going there all the time going for a swim. Yeah. They also go out to do a little bit of a workout too, even though the YMCA is no longer there. I was a member of the YMCA for many, many years, and it's not there. But if I wanted to, I could go for a workout there. I think they still got the machines. They definitely got the pool. When I was there, of course, last night I was there for Honeymoon City Toastmasters, where I got a silver medal for my speech.
That was at McBain Center. Now you're doing the Toastmasters.
Yeah, so that's what they're talking about, McBain Center. So I don't see anything like that listed there, and there's lots of young people in there playing volleyball and commiserating with other young people. There's lots of action, people coming and going. Even it closes up at 9, but but during the day it's pretty busy. The places like that. Libraries, yeah, definitely. That's a cool place to go. Libraries, I can see that happening. But I didn't notice anything like the Boys and Girls Club. I do know that there are people who go to the Boys and Girls Club to exercise too, even though it's mostly devoted to kids. Adults can go there for swims and hang around there and do some exercise as well. So I didn't see that in the list.
Do you know what
I know there's a number of people that do that.
Do you know what my favorite number third place has been the last few years? Home Depot.
Home Depot?
Home Depot or wherever I'm doing the renovations, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Home Depot or used to be Canadian Tire too, You got nothing else to do. Go to Canadian Tire, look at all the tools you can't afford.
Yeah, well,
Ooh, look at that saw.
that wasn't what I was meaning, because it's like I need this bit of lumber and that bit of lumber and this bit of lumber and these hammers and this for the project I'm dealing with right now.
I can see it now. Hello again there, Mr. Giblet. Now we're only going to let you hang around here an hour today, okay? You got to go home.
Yeah. Well, there we go. There we go.
Can we have the telephone number of your wife again, please?
Yeah, she's right there.
Hello,
She's
Mrs.
right
Giblet.
there.
You come get Peter.
Yeah, she's right there. Okay. She's the one dragging me here or shoving me here, right?
Yeah, that's what I would say too.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, yeah. So good thought on third places to be. Yeah. Okay. And what else? Okay. Well, just as a so there's been a joint statement by European European leaders rallying behind Greenland, basically stating that, hey, you touch Greenland, you touch Europe, you're fighting Europe.
Well, yeah, the United States has said that if they have to take military action to own Greenland, they're going to do it. If they take, and what that is a violation of NATO. What they're doing is attacking another NATO country. And Article 5 means that all the other NATO countries got to help the NATO country that was attacked. In this particular case, Greenland/Denmark.
Yeah.
It really is a confusing situation there. The only time the Article 5 has ever been used is for protection for the United States. When they got attacked by Osama bin Laden and he was hanging out in Afghanistan, all the NATO countries went to Afghanistan and started fighting the Taliban.
There were questions asked around the Falklands War, because Falklands being part of the UK, there was offers by the US, and Margaret Thatcher said, no, we got this covered.
Yeah, but that's not part of NATO. Wasn't anything to do with NATO.
UK is part of NATO. UK is part of NATO, and it's the sovereign part of the UK.
Yeah, but they didn't enact Article 5 because they didn't have to,
Yeah. Oh, they didn't.
But in any case, that's all confusing. Anyway, let's not divert to a Falkland Island War that happened back in the 80s. Let's stick it to right now. And right now, the U.S. They want to buy it. So this is what they're saying. This is where they can't understand. Hey, look, we'll give you a lot of money for it. We'll buy it. Sell it to us. Well, we don't want to sell it. You're gonna sell it to us, or that's all there is to it. We're gonna take it. We're gonna force the money on you. And they're going to say, no, they're not. We can make a millionaire out of every one of those people in Greenland. We can give every person in Greenland $1 million. How about that? And we'll buy it. I'm sure some of the people in Greenland will say, yeah, give me that $1 million. But they don't understand that they're going to get, their autonomy is going to get, what's going to happen to them is what happened to Hawaii. When the United States acquired Hawaii, what did they do to the people there? They just pushed them off. They pushed them off into little corners of the island all over the place. So the actual Hawaiian people that were there are now the minority, and they live in the poorest and least affluent areas of the island. And even those areas are under pressure. All right, Greenland, do you want that to happen? Do you want you to be just pushed aside? You only got 50,000 people. In a couple of years, it could be 100,000 Americans there, and doing what they want to do. The whole idea is preposterous, though, because Greenland is part of NATO, and the United States is part of NATO, and it's all part of the same protection area, right? It's all part of the same treaty.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: if anything, like the United States had a huge military base there, it had radar bases, it had everything. Once the Soviet Union fell, then they pulled out of Greenland. They pulled out all their most of their defenses. They pulled them out. Suddenly, the Arctic Ocean is warming up, and all kinds of transit areas are opening up in the Arctic. That means more shipping, etc. Now they want to go back up there and control that area. Well, they already do have control. They already do have as many bases as they want up there. They had all kinds of military up there before. And not only that, back in 1916, when they bought the Virgin Islands from Denmark, the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark, they bought them in 1915 or 1916. And part of the treaty is that the United States would not bother Denmark for Greenland. It wouldn't try to push them into selling it or acquiring it. That's part of a treaty that the United States independently made with the Kingdom of Denmark.
But Mr. Trump doesn't care about treaties. He's made that abundantly clear that, hey, treaty, what treaty? I don't care. It wasn't done by me. Oh, it was done by me. I still don't care.
Well, his whole thing is his might is right. And that goofy Miller he's got by his side has pretty much said, look, this is all about power.
Yeah.
We don't care about it. They're very, very clear. We don't care about the rights of the people there. We want, this is about power. We're going to put our people where we want to put them because we're the powerful one and we want it. And Trump used to say that we want the rare minerals and all that from Greenland, but now he's changed his mind and says, oh no, it's only about security. Well, they get oil, they get gas, they get rare earth minerals coming out of the yin yang there. Canadian mining operations are already working on it. But I think he thinks it's a nice, wealthy little island that he can extract resources from. And I'm going to take it. That's all there is to it.
And for some reason, one of the things they've been talking about is oil. But yet, from all I've heard about Greenland, I didn't believe there was much oil in Greenland. No
oil and natural gas. Oil and natural gas. So there is some
They're
there.
Almost inevitably.
Of course, it's an Arctic. It's Arctic, so it's more difficult to exploit.
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. A lot more difficult to exploit. And in fact, actually, I don't know that there's, certainly in comparison to Venezuela, no huge amounts, to my knowledge.
Oh, well, Venezuela's get enough oil to run the whole world, just Venezuela itself, for the next 300 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So the oil is no longer. There was a situation that happened some time ago where the oil reserves were running out because we had no capacity to get to the oil we only had at one time. It looked like we only had 20 or 30 years proven oil reserves before we start half the rationing. Well, fracking and other things have new technologies have brought more and more oil online. In fact, we've got more oil than we ever need. Canada itself, just Canada, which get the fourth or fifth largest supply in the world, proven resources, just Canada could run the whole world.
And actually, and this statement is actually one that's fairly true. And this is actually what I figured out fairly early on within the changes that Trump has been making. Investigative reporter, quote, said that Trump had pocketed more than $3 billion over the first 10 months of his second presidency. And that's essentially what it was about. A lot of what he's done has been about manipulating the stock market. So if you take all your money out of the stocks, you crash the market, you buy everything you want to buy, the market goes back up and you make a fortune.
Yeah, that's what... it's a common thing. It's like stock manipulation. That's what President Kennedy's father did, Joe Kennedy. That's what he did. Part of one of the scams that he ran. He'd get a bunch of his friends, and they would buy stock like crazy. And once it started running up, they would sell it, and it was still going up as they were selling it. And then, of course, it crashed because there was no reason for it to be as high as it was. So,
But
so
again,
one
so
of our
long as
friends there
you
was
get,
talking about Trump making billions of dollars in his second president. That's an interesting thing, and the
well,
Republicans are
so
too
long as
afraid
you
to mention it.
buy, so long as you sell your stock and you get your money out of it, and you buy at the right point when you know the market's going to go back up, so you buy at the low, and now you've got the market that rebounds, because markets tend to rebound. Not maybe not as high, but now you either own more percentage of a company, or you've fiddled the market in a way. And that
So, are you saying that's what Trump's doing?
I say that is undoubtedly has been part and parcel of a lot of, when he talks about tariffs, the stock market goes down, right? So he gets his money out, he talks about tariffs, the stock market goes down, he then puts his money in at the bottom and then stops talking about tariffs, and the market goes
Well,
back.
that's what they're talking about. Every politician in the Senate and in the Congress have been tipped off for government contracts and all other stuff, and so they know where to put their money because they know where the government contracts are
Yeah.
going, and et
Oh, yeah.
cetera, et cetera. They have privy. They're privy. It's almost like insider trading, basically. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is being accused of it. Nancy Pelosi, huge, has been accused of
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
There's prominent Republicans that have been accused of it, and actually have been proven. So it's a nonpartisan type
Well,
of
you see,
exploitation.
yeah,
And so
you think about it.
yeah, so like obviously somebody knows whenever Trump's going to put a tariff on someplace where to put the money, you know.
Yeah, and we know, and we might know, if you put the money on when it first becomes a news headline. You put your money on, you'll probably make a few $1,000s on your investment. But if they're putting it on weeks before the public even knows, then you can make a few $1,000,000 on it.
Sure, it's stock market manipulation, but it happens
Yeah,
all over the place.
it does.
It's been a running problem among politicians in the United States. You can wonder how all those guys make so much money. And when Josh Hawley came up, he was one of the senators. He comes up with a plan to investigate the monies being made by
All right.
politicians.
Gonna,
One of the biggest resistance he's got was from who? He got
yeah,
it from Trump. Trump
yeah,
ran all over him, and Josh Hawley says, "Okay, well, I'm not talking about the president here. I'm only talking about the other politicians." But Trump
yeah,
still didn't believe him and called him a second-tier senator, a low second-tier senator with not a big IQ. And yeah, there's a Republican trying to make everybody more accountable for the kind of money they're making as being a politician. And the biggest resistance he gets out of this is from the president that's worried that his own finances will be investigated.
yeah. All right, and I think we can leave it at that point. We should be leaving at that point. We'll come back to Somaliland tomorrow, with a number of other things.
Yeah, don't forget Gaza. I'll mention it again. It's going on, sort of being pushed off the front of the papers because Netanyahu loves it when the eyes of the world are looking in other places. So they're looking at Venezuela now. They're looking at Greenland and all this, and it's taking the eyes off of one of the greatest human rights disasters in the world right now. And I mean, you've got about 25,000 kids children have been killed out of the 70,000, and it could be much more than that. And plus 150,000. There are all kinds of children with no eyes or one eye, one arm, one leg, all kinds of them.
Yeah,
that's not, and plus the 25,000 being killed. So that is a human rights nightmare. The United States, first Biden, now Trump, is afraid to do anything about. We'll find out, and we'll talk more about that later. But do not forget it. Don't, because it's the West's responsibility, and we failed miserably here.
All right. So
without further ado, I bid you pray for peace.